That is Lamu, Tana River, Mombasa, Kwale between today and Sunday. And the Finance Act case to be determined tomorrow. Court of Appeal to deliver its ruling on July 28th, that is tomorrow, Friday, to consider lifting the suspension of the Finance Act 2023 as sought by Treasury CS Njuguna Ndung'u. Justice David Majanja, Justice Christy Meoli, and Justice Lawrence Mugambi are to hear the case. The petitioner, Busia Senator Okiya Omtata, says the bill did not follow the due procedure before being passed, hence terming it unconstitutional. Of course, all eyes now lies on the Court of Appeal ahead of the great decision tomorrow. Away from that, President William Ruto is to skip the Russia-Africa summit, with the summit focusing on fostering development of relations between Russia and Africa, coming at a time when Russia is seeking to sway the African nations from the Western. Remember, Russia has been on a tussle with the West since the Russia-Ukraine war started. And also, the summit will take place in St. Petersburg from Thursday. President Ruto, through his spokesperson Hussein Mohammed, said that he'll be represented by other AU organs. Away from that, the Jomo Kenyatta firearms saga, former President Uhuru Kenyatta's son Jomo moved to the court to bar revoking of his license to own firearms, saying that his license is still valid till April next year. Remember, this whole saga started over the weekend when allegedly police raided his current residence to search for illegal firearms. And away from that, still on matters Azimio, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition is to issue way forward on the protest on Friday. This comes just a day after they held the vigils in different parts of the country to mourn the lost lives during the protest. The coalition leaders have also criticized police brutality during the protest. And also we expect the Departmental Committee on Health to meet with CS Health Susan Nakumicha and top management of the Kenya Medical Training College KMTC on matters of admission at the KMTC. The Constitutional Implementation Oversight Committee will also meet with the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC. The committee seeks to know the extent to which the Commission has discharged its mandate and has the Commission ensured compliance and enforcement of the provisions on leadership and integrity. Any impediments to the process of implementing the Constitution and the way forward. And just to look at some of the activities that President William Ruto is expected to be doing in the coast region. President Ruto is to begin his 5-day working tour of the coast region on July 27th, covering Lamu, Kilifi, Mombasa, Kwale, and Tana River counties, to also focus on inaugurating, commissioning, and inspecting government projects that benefit ordinary Kenyans, aligning with the bottom-up economic agenda. Away from that, emphasis also on projects in the blue economy and fisheries sector in Mokowe, Ngau, Kunda, and Mombasa, with grants of over 552 million shillings to be issued to common interest groups. Those are some of the activities that the president will be up to in his 5-day tour of the coast region. But right now we cross over to Naivasha and link up with our reporter Willie Dennis Njiru to give us an update on what is expected in Naivasha this morning. Good morning, Willie. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good, my colleague. I'm good. Lemuki. Thank you very much, my colleague in studio, Lemuki, for granting me this opportunity to bring you up to speed in what is the latest developments from this and what our viewers anticipate and expect from us in our news gathering for the day. It has been a very hard time in the recent days, where every homestead has been looking for this special part of the cooking, part of the foods that we need in our kitchen, that is onions, that have indeed been very scarce in the recent days. And this market where I'm standing right now has had issues to do with the flow of the onion market as it has been.
Well, we apologize for that technical hitch, but of course, Willie Dennis will be getting back a little bit later to just update us on what is happening in Naivasha County. But just a brief look at President William Ruto's activities in the Coast region. I was trying to get hold of them here. Yes, the president is also expected to launch local vehicle assembly line, also meeting with the port users and other port stakeholders. Later on, he will commission the rehabilitated Sailoni Headworks and Rubber Dam and inspecting the ongoing rehabilitation of water delivery systems and farm restoration works at the Tana Delta Irrigation Project. Well, informed that Willie Dennis Njuru is now ready for us. Willie Dennis Njuru, if you can hear me clearly, do update us on what is happening in Naivasha.
Sorry for that technical hitch. Indeed, sometimes it happens. And like I was telling you, onion is a part of what makes a delicacy what it is. And it has been in the recent days a hard time for everybody who is using onions across the country. And it is remembered that in this part of the country, Naivasha, Maraigushu area, and part of the upper part of this town, and Kinongi, Hendu, these are places that have been flooding the whole country with onions. But alongside Tanzania, our neighboring country, Tanzania, and the short distribution that has been witnessed here in the recent days is something warranted for that we could have a view from the vendors here who do part of it wholesale and part of it retail. Yesterday we did a tour part of Kinongi market, and in that part of the market we always have the farmers bring their produce to the market, and as such they are lamenting about much of the inflow of the onions from our neighboring country that has really hampered their sales here in the country, and thus bringing down the costs, the sale prices for what they produce in their farms. And instead, they have opted to do pyrethrum instead of onions, and that is why we are having a short distribution, just a short distribution of the onions. Right now, I'm joined by one lady here who is going to be telling me her name and what she does. Nieleze jina lako na unieleze kumekuwa na upungufu wa vitunguu na umesababishwa na nini? Penduka hivi. Penduka.
Kwa majina naitwa Rusi Wangare. Kitunguu mwaka huu mwingine tuliuzwa bei rahisi sana. Sasa watu walikataa kupanda vitunguu. Saa hii hata hatupati. Tunahaso sana ndio tupate vitunguu na ndio tunakulaga. Sasa tu ni yenye tunapata, tunauza kadogo lakini iko juu sana hadi tunashindwa kununua.
Soko la Tanzania vile vile limekuwa likigonga soko hizi zetu hapa, na wakati mwingine mnanunua vitunguu vya hapa nchini na vya taifa jirani. Hali iko vipi? Na sasa wingi wa vitunguu ni wa taifa jirani ama ni hapa nchini?
Afadhali venye yuko hiyo ya Tanzania, sababu hata wakulima wetu wanapata kitu. Sasa hatuwezi changia hiyo ya Tanzania. Afadhali hiyo ipotee, huku kwetu ikue tunawanunulia vizuri.
Sawa. Let me get some more opinion from another one here. Nieleze jina lako na utueleze, kumekuwa na uhaba mkubwa wa vitunguu hapa nchini. Unasababishwa na kitu gani?
Kwa majina naitwa Susan Mwangi. Mimi naona hali ya kitunguu inaletwa na pyrethrum kwa sababu ile mwaka ingine kitunguu haikuwa na market. Ni wakulima walikasirika sana kwa sababu walinunuliwa na bei baya sana. Saa wengi hawakulima kitunguu. Na pade ya Marigushu ndio huwa inasaidia kitunguu. Juu ndio bado huwa wanapeleka pade ya Kinungi. Sasa wakati tulilima kitunguu ikawa haina pesa. Kama mimi nikabadilisha kulima kitunguu nikalima pyrethrum kwa sababu pyrethrum iko na pesa kuliko kitunguu. Saa wale wamelima kitunguu nakuta hiyo kitunguu iko juu. So ndio hakuna kitunguu.
Wale ambao tulihoji jana walizungumzia kwamba taifa jirani wanawapatia pembejeo na vile vile wanaweza kuwapatia maji, taifa linawapatia maji ili kuendeleza kilimo. Na hili limekuwa tatizo kwenu hapa. Mnaweza sema nini wito wenu kwa serikali?
Kama mimi naweza sema, mwito wangu naweza sema kama ni serikali iangalia wakulima wa kitunguu sana kwa sababu chakula bila kitunguu haina ladha. Kwa sababu kitunguu huweka ladha kwa chakula na chakula inakuwa tamu. Hakuna venye unaweza weka nyanya na mafuta upike chakula. Lazima weke kitunguu ikuwe ni tamu. So kama serikali iangalia wakulima wa kitunguu sana, waache kusema wametusaidia na maji kwa sababu hatuna maji bado ya kulima kitunguu. Kwa sababu kitunguu bado yahitaji maji. Unakuta hakuna maji, saa mwenye ako nayo ni yeye anajivunia kwa sababu yamegharamika kushiba ile shimo ndio apate maji yake. Si maji kusaidiwa na serikali. Hatuna maji ya serikali. So ni watu waangalia mzuri tuweze kusaidiana na wao serikali.
Na vizuri sasa kwamba umesema wewe ni mkulima. Bei ya sasa ikilinganishwa na ya awali imeenda juu hadi kiwango gani? Tuna vitunguu vile vinakaa kama viazi na kuna vitunguu vingine vya majani. Unaweza nipa bei tofauti kabla hatujasikiza kutoka kwa dada?
Wow, niseme saizi bei ya kitunguu ya majani, kitunguu miti saizi iko juu sana.
How much?
Juu inatoka kilo saizi ni 50 na 55. Bereni walikuwa wananunuliwa na 15. So iko juu na 40 ama 35 according na vyenye iko. Na ninaona iko afadhali kwa sababu hata kama ule mkulima amegharamika, ukirudi tena pade ya maji na pade ya vitu za kulima na begu na hiyo borea, unakuta hiyo kitunguu inampe pesa. Sasa mimi niseme namna gani? Niseme saizi iko juu kitunguu ya ngwashe sasa hii. Kitunguu viazi nayo iko juu kwa sababu saizi iko 100. Walikuwa wananunuliwa na 25, 35 ikiwa juu sana. Sasa bado wanajifunia. Kama mimi niseme ningekuwa nayo isipokuwa nilimaliza, najifunia kama mkulima. Kwa sababu unakuta sasa hiyo ile shida yenye ulipitia ukilima ama vyenye wewe mwenyewe uligharamika wakati ule uko juu na unasaidika saa hizi.
Challenge ambayo mmekuwa, swali langu la mwisho, challenge ambayo mmekuwa nayo wakati kitunguu cha nchi jirani kinakuja, ni kitunguu kipi kilicho na bei nafuu kwa kingine, na hili unaweza linganisha kutokana na changamoto gani?
Mimi naweza sema kama serikali yetu ya Kenya ilituachilia sana sisi wa Kenya. Sisi wakulima wa huku wenye tunalimia Marigushu, wenye tunalimia Kinangop hivyo. Ilituachilia sana kwa sababu kama unakuta kitunguu ya nje ikikuja ina bei mzuri kuliko ya kwetu. Sisi wa Kenya hawatuangalii. So unakuta ile kitunguu ya nje ina bei ni mzuri kwa sababu gani inaangaliwa. So nituangalia wakulima wa kwetu kwanza kuliko kuangalia wa nje.
Asante sana kwa muda wako. Acha tumalizie na dada hapa. Nieleze jina lako na utueleze hali iko vipi. Mnafanya mauzo mengi, ni kitunguu cha hapa ama ni cha kutoka nje, na kwa sababu gani?
Kwa majina naitwa Rosemary Yabes. Kwa saa hizi tuko na shida sana kwa kitunguu na kumebaniwa ya kwamba ya Tanzania ikuji. Sasa hapa shida tuko kubwa sana.
Sasa mwito wako kwa serikali ni upi?
Mwito wetu ni ya kwamba tafadhali serikali ituangalie. Tusije tukaseme tunaweza jisimamia sisi peke yetu vitunguu hatujatosha. Ni ile at least watuangalie hata kitunguu zingine zitoke kutoka Tanzania. Sisi peke yetu huko bado hatujajisimamia tunaweza provide kitunguu kantu mzima. Kitu ya kwanza,
so vitunguu viendelee tu kuja kutoka nchi jirani.
Inabidi sasa, kwa sababu sasa hapa Kenya hakuna vitunguu, hakuna wakulima wenye wamelima.
Lakini hali ya hewa hapa nchini na taifa jirani yote ni sawa.
Okay, ni sawa, ni kwa sababu huko unajua wanazingatia vizuri, wanasaidiwa vizuri, wako na demu mingi ya maji, wafinyili wakulima wanaangaliwa sana huyo nchi za nje.
Asante.
Yeah.
Nashukuru sana kwa muda wako. Flora Limuki, indeed this is a spice that any food would not taste well without. It is part of a delicacy, part of what makes food quite a delicacy, and indeed when it lacks in any food that is served, indeed the taste is not as sweet as when it is concentrated in there. We hope that these issues are affecting our farmers in regard to the distribution planting of the onions in the country, especially in this region where these onions actually come from and distributed across other parts of this country up to Mombasa, and we are hoping that the voices have gone to line authority, and they are going to take up measures to ensure that there is adequate distribution of seeds that are needed to enable our farmers do a good production in regard to this. This is part of the developing stories for the day, and we will be compiling these with other colleagues from other parts of the country in what is trending in regard to these simple but very crucial plant here. And we will be filing this for a story for the day. From me here in Naivasha, my colleague in studio, Limuki, I take it back to you.
Well, thank you so much, Willie Dennis Njiro, for that update. And of course, away from that, there's a lot happening today, including President William Ruto's 5-day tour in the Coast region. Of course, this is significant politically, bearing in mind that this is a region that for a long time has been warming its hands to the opposition side. But of course, with President's visit, of course, is trying to maybe marshal up is support in the Coast region, but maybe I throw it to my colleagues, Fred and Stanley, to just get their view concerning this specific visit after President jets back from Tanzania.
Yes, thank you, Flora, for that. And just quick, even before we speak about the president, sometimes it is important to pay attention to what some of these common Mwananchi discussions still linked to what's happening in Tanzania. And I just didn't know that we import up to half of the red onions sold in Kenya from Tanzania. And I was just checking online, and there's an acute shortage of onions because of reduced imports from Tanzania, and the prices have gone up to 150 per kilo, by 150 per kilo. And the shortage has been exacerbated by declining production by farmers who cite cost of productions. And this, I'm looking at someone who's an expert in issues to do with onions specifically,
right.
And he's saying that the prices have gone up by up to 87%, the prices of onions. So yes, sometimes we may talk about Tanzania, and we're talking about the foreign policy and relations between us and our neighbors, immediate neighbors, Tanzania and Uganda, really affect us in our day-to-day lives. The fact that onions are part and parcel of our palate, our table, our cooking, everyday meals.
Once again, hopefully they'll get a suluhu for the onions. But away from onions, and what is, as you know, onions make you cry when you're cutting them, but something else that is making people cry in the Coast region, as Limuki was alluding to, is the UDA party. So there's been a whole tiff, in all that. And with the party leader going to Mombasa, it's going to be interesting to see how this will be playing out, because definitely, the UDA leaders from the Coast region and from Mombasa will definitely be there. So we'll get to see how the politics of that party will be playing out on that.
Yes, of course, the president was in the Coast region last week, touring the Galana Kulalu project as well. He's back in the coast region again this week. That tells you something, that the politics of the coastal region is important to the president and his UDA party. Remember, over recent months and since the president took over the reins of this country, the politics of the coast region have changed quite a bit. It had been leaning on the ODM side for quite a while, but we've seen the UDA make quite some inroads in that region, and with the repeated visits by the president to the region twice in as many weeks, that tells you something. So we do expect an even bigger shift in terms of the political alignments in that region.
Yes, definitely. I even remember how even covering the August elections, how they were voting during that time. It was one heated, time. All factions accusing each other for stealing, and all that during the ballots. So yes, 1 year later, we're going to see how things are really changing in the coast region.
There's something else you had mentioned earlier, and now that we're talking about onions and our relations with the foreign countries, and you speak about diplomacy, it's a question we had raised earlier about confusion, if we may call it that. I'm sure the government does not see it as confusion. They have a plan. It's only that probably they're yet to communicate that plan with the public or share
a clear cut
what exactly our foreign policy, where we stand currently. The president refused to go to the Africa-Russia summit to attend, despite the fact that our neighboring presidents have gone there, including Yoweri Museveni. The dalliance with Iran, which puts us at odds with the West, the US, the UK. So what exactly are we doing now? And I'm looking at one of the headlines on the back page of the Daily Nation today, and the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, has hinted at an impending change in the country's diplomatic corps. The Deputy President has given strong indication that a major shakeup of Kenya's foreign missions is imminent. Of course, that is to be expected. A reorganization of the embassies and missions abroad, the appointment of ambassadors, because that is one of those that we're still waiting. Remember, the current ambassadors, most of them were appointed by the retired president. The new administration has been looking to change most of these people, and it goes a long way in explaining our foreign policy currently with the new administration. Probably that is what we are waiting for the appointment and reorganization of the diplomatic missions, for us to understand, okay, fine, this time I think we're giving more focus to China, or we are looking the Chinese way, or the West.
Yeah, and also for the president, so that he can have a one voice. He will plan all this in Kenya, but then he'd also want foreign, even the ambassadors who speak what he's saying. He says Kenya is ABCD. He'd want the Kenyan ambassador in Iran to also say, follow the lead on the same. Maybe even the ambassadors who are appointed during the former regime, they still maybe have the loyalty again to.
It's not even loyalty. It has more to do with the plan by the administration of the day. The fact that there's a new government in place. This government has its own plans, economic plans, in terms of even exports and imports, how we trade with other countries, where do we want to increase our trade. Remember, any country we relate to is consequential. If we decide to do more trade with Russia, for example, or China, for example, there will be consequences on this other side. Probably if we look to trade with the US more, there will be consequences on the other side as well. So every administration comes with its own ideas. And probably to borrow from the Deputy President, and he says that the intention now in the appointment, the expected appointment of diplomats, it will mean that they will have a mandate to aggressively market Kenyan products in their stations. That the new ambassadors, whoever gets to be appointed to that position, they'll have more to do with trade and not just relations. It's not just about friendship now. It's about trading with these other countries.
And even as through the whole mantle back to Flo, brings back the whole topic of political rewarding.
Of course, that has to be there. Yes.
Flo? Right.
Okay, I think it's time for a break. Let's go for a break. We'll come back with more updates from the counties and even Nairobi. You're watching Morning Cafe. We're getting into the very final phase of our show. We'll be getting an update from our reporters here in the city, plus more updates from the counties. And then a quick reminder of our question today: should the Azimio Coalition resume weekly protests if efforts towards dialogue fail? And you can keep on sending your comments or responses to that question on Twitter or X at TV47 News is our handle there, on text on the short code 22047, and also on Facebook. TV47 Kenya is our page there. And just before the break, we were talking about Kenya's foreign policy, the fact that we still do not understand exactly what the foreign policy, where we stand in as far as relations with other countries is concerned. We've already seen issues to do that directly affect common mwananchi, already issues to do with milk. Importation of milk from Uganda especially, that policy has changed. That will definitely affect people directly. It will affect your breakfast directly here in Kenya. Now we're seeing issues to do with onions from Tanzania, a reduction in the importation of onions from Tanzania directly affecting traders. But onions are things that we use daily in our homes. So that will affect you. So even the foreign policy affects you directly. Sometimes we think that matters foreign, whether relations with China or Russia or Ukraine or the US.
We leave it to the diplomats.
Yes, we leave it to the diplomats, but those issues affect you directly.
Most definitely. But then I would really commend the president. He has been one, vocal gentleman. When he goes out there, he largely speaks on Kenya, Africa, and what even the global South really has to offer, even for the West, and really calling for the richer countries to pay their dues. Telling them we really have what it takes to be fruitful as a global South. So, but then now implementing some of these things that he's really talking about is what we are going to yet to see.
Yes, and the promise is that we will definitely have that conversation sooner than later on Kenya's foreign policy. For now, let's go back to Flora for more updates on what's happening today in the city and in the counties as well. Flora?
Well, time to now get an update of what we can expect from our city reporters here, and I'm joined by Mike Kagongo. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me this morning.
Anytime.
In fact, I thought these cups normally hold water, but I've confirmed what Nyaringeta says every morning, that we're serving it hot.
Yeah. And it's hot coffee in here.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So we have a number of activities scheduled for today. Remember, yesterday we were with Azimio la Umoja Coalition, where they held a vigil and visited various hospitals here in Nairobi. There was Mama Lucy Hospital and KNH, and also City Mortuary, where they also visited, viewed those bodies that passed away, those that passed away during the Maandamano. And today we are expecting that, yesterday, Raila Amolo Odinga did not speak about what he alleged a day before yesterday, that President William Ruto invited Tanzanian president here in Kenya 2 weeks ago. But he spoke to international media and claimed that he is much ready to speak to him, to the president, but from the look of things, the president is not serious about it, because he hasn't come clear on him on whether he want talks or not. But you remember about a few months ago, he asked the president asked Azimio leader to stop Maandamano, and he accepted calling for the bipartisan talks. But eventually the bipartisan talks were halted, and now Azimio leader claims that all this have been halted because he's not serious. The president is not serious. So he's also claiming that if he will be called, because he's been seeing the president on social media, Twitter, and others talking about it, but should he be serious about it, then they can sit down and talk. But from our perspective, reporting perspective, we think, you see, Azimio leader not speaking yesterday with Kenyan media speaks a lot. And should we have not seen Raila Amolo Odinga at Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Foundation yesterday, then it should have sent questions as to his whereabouts. Should he have been in Tanzania? Should he have met people who might be bringing truth in between the two? But still, he's not been able to speak yesterday with us, means that there is something a little bit questionable about their a little bit of truth in between him and the President of the Republic of Kenya. He's getting back this evening, and he said in his Twitter account that when he comes, he's much ready to meet him if he is willing to. But you know, the problem is, it is not even about the two. It's all about their lieutenants. You see Azimio leader, lieutenants, the likes of Opiyo Wandayi, the likes of Kimani Ichung'wah, they're the hardliners. If you remember, Indimuli can tell you in 2007, 2008, what happened before former President Kibaki and Raila Odinga met when Kofi Annan came in the country. The hardliners were the ones stopping this meeting, but when the two met, there was a truce. Yeah. So if these two leaders can meet, then others will definitely follow suit. So we are expecting, if he comes back today, this evening, should they meet, the better for the country.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even as we speak of hardliners, remember there are troops from the Azimio side, there are troops from the Kenya Kwanza.
Sure.
Who supported the president solely during the campaign period.
Sure.
Then these people have been with with Raila Odinga for the longest time.
Sure.
So if at all these two people are to work together, of course, they are going to be affected. So there's also the fear of what if we turusho inje when these
exactly, and that is why you saw Cabinet Secretary for, was it Trade? Exactly, saying that over his dead body about it, because he's the one who fought for the government to ascend to power. But there must be casualties, as you said earlier, because if there is truce, then that means some of them will be sidelined somehow, but we don't expect such much, because it's for the betterment of the country.
Exactly, and
businesses
even
to go on, and schools to perhaps continue.
Yes, because when they speak so, it shows how much of self-interest is involved in this all dialogue conversation.
Yes.
Even as Kenyans want these leaders to come to the same table to just talk of ideologies that can help Kenyans, because I believe even in the Azimio manifesto that they had during the election period, there's a lot that can be borrowed to be transferred to the Kenya Kwanza government. But again, this is...
So we are expecting a number of activities from Azimio, and they might also be visiting various hospitals today to also send their condolences to the departed ones, and also from the counties. We are also expecting Azimio to be visiting. And from Mombasa visit, there is a battle in between Omar Hassan and Mohammed Ali.
Oh, yes.
So this is all about 2027 politics. You see, 2 or 3 days ago, they had a truce. You remember about a month ago, there was a clash in between supporters of the two leaders in Mombasa. So this is all about 2027 politics in Mombasa. Both of them want governorship position. And before presidents visit in Mombasa, they must have come together, at least to showcase unity in between themselves. Remember, these are CAS, his CS, or his ELA MP, and a National Assembly Member of Parliament. So they are both in Kenya Kwanza, so they must be together before President visits in Mombasa.
Of course, definitely looking forward to that. There has been rift in terms of UDA leadership in Mombasa County, and thank you so much, Mike, for that. And of course, we continue following up on that.
Before we go, we are also following up on Jubilee Party leadership. Kanini Kega has suspended the likes of Kioni, and today we are also following on the same, on whether the political parties tribunal is taking its other side about the stand of the Jubilee Party. It's something we are also following up today.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you so much, and of course we look forward to that, and of course keep interacting with us at TV47 News on Twitter, TV47 Kenya on Facebook, at Limuki_F, at Fred Indimuli, at Nyaringita_ on Twitter. The hashtag is Morning Cafe. Fred?
Thank you, Flora, for that, and thank you, Kagongo, for an update on what's happening in the city today. And of course, a time for us to relook at the highlights this morning. Stanley?
Well, Azimio Coalition holds out on giving direction on the future of anti-government protests, indicating an easing of tensions.
The other top story, soldiers in the West African country of Niger confirm a coup against President Mohamed Bazoum, who was detained by presidential guard troops Wednesday morning.
And still on Azimio, possibility of dialogue between top leaders generate an air of expectation among Kenyans, even as headliners dig in. Anaitwaje?
Kitiumika.
Yes, and just before we wrap up today's edition of Morning Cafe, well, we'll be sharing wise thoughts. Let me start. I know Stanley has one too. As you step into the day, carry the warmth of friendship and the wisdom shared. Life is a journey, and with each dawn, we have the chance to create a brighter path. May your day be filled with joy, love, and the promise of endless possibilities. And until we meet again, remember to embrace the magic of each moment.
And because, okay, you might be wondering why we're so philosophical today. Flora Lemuke started the week with being a philosopher. So we said we are going on with that. Mine today is the most important relationship that you can save is the one that, the one that you have with yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice one.
Let me get off the hook a little bit. For me today, you know, guys, today is National Intern Day.
Okay.
Yeah. Perhaps I take you back. What was your very first internship? And of course, as I give hope to those interns out there, continue doing what you're doing and doing it so well, because it will pay off eventually. Fred, when was your first internship? 19?
Wow. Really? Go back. Well, it is quite some years back. Yeah, let me just say a few decades back.
So 19 something.
How was it?
Well, it was interesting. I actually interned in a church.
Oh, wow.
Yes. I'll give you that story another day.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Could you give us a small...
No, not today.
A highlight of it?
Oh, yeah, it was in a church. There was a lot of hallelujah and amen.
Amen.
Which is a good thing.
Wow. Okay, mine wasn't that long. But then it really shaped me to where I am right now. So I believe also that's my highlight of it.
The director says his is 3 years ago, and you know, when you're in these internship programs, sometimes most of them financially not the best, and sometimes you're almost losing hope. But remember, light at the end of the tunnel is the only hope that you have. So you keep on pushing and pushing. So this is a shout out to all interns out there, and remember, whatever you're doing right now, it will pay off in future.
Wow.
And we believe in you.
Yeah, all right.
Yes.
It's about that time.
Oh, yes. It's an opportunity now to wrap up this edition of Morning Cafe. Let's do this again tomorrow morning. And now that we feel we still have more wise sayings, I have one for you here. He who learns teaches. That's an African proverb. Good morning.
He who learns teaches. Right. Tomorrow morning, as we do every single Friday, talk about matters of youth and politics, and also get into some Miondoko Friday. So stick around for that. Getting some dance moves from yours truly, Stanley Nyiringita, 2047, and Nyiringita_ZU.